Hello, my name is Patrick. I was going to be showing you loggerhead turtles hatching at the World Science Festival this year, but unfortunately due to the current health crisis that didn't happen. But I'd like to share with you anyway what happened to the eggs after the festival was cancelled. The eggs for the hatchery at the Science Festival collected at Monrepo. They're collected by staff from the Department of Environment and Science and turtle research volunteers. They're collected in late January. Around 80 eggs are collected. They're left at Monrepo in an incubator in the research facility for the first 3 weeks. That allows the developing embryos to be sufficiently robust to be transported back to Brisbane, where incubation continues in a dry collection room on level 6. So this event is planned so the eggs will actually hatch out during the Science Festival, and to do that we have to incubate them for a set time frame at exactly 29.9 degrees. So I monitor the incubator each day just to make sure that temperature is stable, and generally the eggs hatch out a day or two before the festival, and we have eggs following up hatching out throughout the festival. And we try to have some initially before the festival starts, so we have turtles swimming in our aquarium before we actually have visiting public coming to view them. Each year during the hatchery we generally have about 8,000 people visiting over a 5-day period, and it's really great. We see people just absolutely amazed by these young turtles. They're blown away by the experience, watching the little turtles climb out of the eggs and watching the young hatchlings swimming around in the tanks. But after the festival's over, we really have to get those little turtles out to sea as quickly as possible, because they have limited yolk reserves to actually fuel their journey once they get out to sea. So what we do is we take them up to Mooloolaba on the Sunshine Coast, and we take them out 20 kilometres offshore into the Eastern Australian Current. And once the turtles are in that current, they ride that current down the east coast of Australia, past the northern tip of New Zealand and across the coasts of Chile and Peru. And it's another 16 years before they actually make their way back into Australian waters. We have a backup plan though. In some years we've had cyclonic events that have delayed the release, and when that happens the turtles are cared for at Sea Life at Mooloolaba until a release can be arranged. When we received word that the Science Festival was cancelled, we were wondering what the best option was for the eggs, and on advice from the Department of Environment and Science, the eggs were returned to Monrepo and buried in shallow nests in the dunes. Those nests have been monitored, and we now know that those hatchlings have emerged and the young turtles have made their way down the beach and are making their own way out to the Eastern Australian Current. The well-being of those turtles whilst they're in our care is of paramount importance. This activity is conducted with appropriate permits from the Department of Environment and Science, and also it is overseen by an Animal Ethics Committee. But once the turtles are actually back at sea, they face many problems. It's estimated that only 1 in 1,000 turtles actually reaches sexual maturity. There are all sorts of issues to contend with. They face natural predation, they are caught on long lines, tangled in fishing nets. But one of the major problems for the little loggerhead turtles as they complete that journey down the Eastern Australian coast and out in the open ocean is the ingestion of small fragments of plastic. And these are not the soft plastics like plastic bags and such. For the young turtles, it's hard plastics, the sort of plastics that are little pieces of broken down bottle tops and the like. These are eaten by the turtles, which are naturally geared to eat macroplankton, and they cause gut blockages and ultimately death for many turtles. It's very important that we reduce the amount of plastic going into the oceans, actually prevent any plastic going into the ocean at all. It's detrimental to the little turtles, especially the little loggerheads travelling down the Eastern Australian Current. It's also particularly hazardous to the tube-nosed seabirds like albatrosses and petrels. We all need to think about our relationship with plastic, use less plastic in our lives. We need to reduce our use. Where we have to discard plastic, discard it in a responsible manner so it doesn't end up in the ocean, and avoid buying products with excess plastic wrapping. In dealing with plastic, people can actually be more active. There are many really good beach cleanups happening and community cleanups. It's possible to get involved in things like Clean Up Australia Day or events organised by the local council. So people should look for these events and take an active role in reducing the amount of plastic out there in the environment. At this year's Science Festival, I was hoping to show people the sort of litter that's turning up on beaches. So anyone I know that's going to a beach, particularly in a remote locality, I've asked to collect plastic for me. I've got plastic from New Caledonia, from the Galapagos Islands, from all over the world. I've got some quite alarming plastic from some of the islands out in the Coral Sea. And this is comprised, I asked them to get everyday objects so that people could actually recognise the sort of things that are going into the ocean. And we see toothbrushes and cigarette lighters, all sorts of things commonly found on beaches that just shouldn't be there. I've also collected samples that have been taken from the digestive tracts of turtles, and I have plastic that has been collected from albatross colonies in the Hawaiian Islands. This is bits of hard plastic that have been coughed up by albatross chicks before they leave the nest. And I have plastic that has also been taken from the flesh-footed shearwater colony from Lord Howe Island. So that's the story of the turtles, and we hope to see you in 2021 at the World Science Festival Brisbane.